going to start off this hour with a live look at Capitol Hill. The House of Representatives has just passed a motion to release the Epstein files. This is the first major hurdle to make the documents public. Next up will be the Senate and eventually U.S. President Trump's desk. During a meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince, who was in town in Washington earlier today, Trump addressed the Epstein files, calling them a Democratic hoax.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax.
All right, let's bring in CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham to talk about the potential release of the Epstein files. Eric, we're one step closer today. Do you see any reason why this will not pass the Senate and then Trump's desk, as he's now done a reversal on Sunday saying he will sign this bill?
No reason why we don't see the Senate actually follow suit with the House. And this was a near unanimous vote. Only one holdout, Clay Higgins from Louisiana. And it was striking. We saw the debate very spirited on both sides. Very interesting hearing from a lot of Republicans who for months stonewalled and pushed back actually now come out and say they supported this discharge petition, even while many of them continue to complain and say that this was a Democratic hoax and that it should not have been brought up, but yet they still decided to vote for it. And we, of course, heard from the victims, many of them who were on the House steps today talking about this issue. Now, of course, we will see what, in fact, Donald Trump does, and more importantly, watch what his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, does. Will they actually release these files? Or will they actually now say that this is under investigation, as we heard from the president who called for an investigation of Epstein and, of course, former President Bill Clinton? Of course, Donald Trump can release these files at any moment, however.
So let's just talk about that point, because he does have unilateral authority to order the Department of Justice to release the files today. But he's saying he'll sign this petition, and yet he is not ordering the release of the files immediately. How do you reconcile those two things?
Well, that's why with President Trump, you have to not only listen to what he says, but you also have to, more importantly, watch what he does. And we know that Donald Trump wields power right now in Washington with an iron grip. He can do whatever he wants. He has complete control of all three branches of government, quite frankly. And I think today what we saw was, and why this vote is so striking, is because even before Donald Trump did a 180, we know that there were at least 50 to 100 Republicans who were rebuking the president and saying they were, in fact, going to vote for this discharge petition. So Donald Trump came out at the 11th hour to get ahead of what was going to be an embarrassing defeat for him. But yet and still, we have not seen him wield that authority and actually call for the release of these documents when, of course, we know Donald Trump can certainly do that at any time.
So, Eric, I'm hearing you saying he did a complete 180, your words there, previously blocking the release of these documents, now saying that he would sign this petition to see the release of the documents, but we just don't know until we know, right?
That's correct. Donald Trump oftentimes can be a very slippery figure. And again, that's why it's so important. What, in fact, do we actually see in terms of actions versus what we hear from words? And
in terms of the documents, do we have any indication what they may hold?
We don't at this point. In fact, all of the information in terms of the emails that have been leaked so far, those have come as a result of the House Oversight Committee subpoenaing the Jeffrey Epstein estate. So we still don't know what, in fact, are in those actual documents. The information that we have received so far, again, which shows just a master stroke by members of Congress to actually bypass the executive branch and the Department of Justice completely and go directly to the Epstein estate. And that is what we're seeing play out right now. And I think it is because of that move by the House Oversight Committee, which is why we're seeing Donald Trump not only move in a direction where now he's actually following the leader, but also it's beginning to show massive, massive cracks within the MAGA movement as well.
Is there a wild card here that we're not thinking about, Eric? Is there a possibility that the Department of Justice could say, hey, we're not going to release them, or because President Trump has ordered an investigation into the Democrats' involvement with Epstein, that he could say there's a current investigation underway, it's not me blocking it? Is there some other play that we're not seeing right away?
You just hit the nail on the head. That is the actual wild card, because Donald Trump over the weekend called for an investigation into Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, who we're told was somehow linked to Epstein, as well as Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, and Bill Clinton. And so the question now becomes, even if we see a unanimous vote in the House, which gives then a veto-proof piece of legislation that the president has to sign, and even after he signed it, after all the theatrics and the performances, do we then hear from Pam Bondi and also from Kash Patel of the FBI say, well, we cannot release this because there is an ongoing investigation? But here's where that will get complicated, because Kash Patel was already under oath at a judiciary hearing where he said there has already been a scrub of those files and there is nothing in there to be investigated, which then would beg the question, what exactly are you investigating when you've already gone under oath and said there is nothing to investigate?
Okay, Eric, so many twists and turns. We will stay tuned, and we appreciate you always being with us for the insight. CTV News U.S. political analyst, Eric Ham.